Hey guys, this is Ben. I thought the other day that I would revisit the death stats for England and Wales, because I started tracking these right at the beginning of COVID in 2020, and I used to do it religiously, and I thought I've not really looked at it recently. And I heard some on an interview the other day. Somebody said that the excess mortality in the UK is up to maybe 20%. So I thought, well, let's dig up my old spreadsheet, which is year. And you see, I started in January 2020, recording all the stuff. So it comes from here. It comes from the ONS. And it's really weird. I mean, one of the things that I find really remarkable is how difficult it is to get hold of this most basic and fundamental of measures, of yardsticks, of stats. How many people have died in the UK each week or whatever compared to previous years? You'd think it would be there at the click of a button. It isn't. Anyway, so I've been compiling it myself now for over 3 years. And let's have a look at this graph, okay? So the blue line here represents the number of deaths recorded. Now, every Christmas time there's a blip, and here's another one in the middle of the year, and that's to do with bank holidays and stuff like that. That the deaths don't get reported as regularly as they are during the rest of the time. So you can kind of just imagine those are smoothed out, those blips. They don't really mean anything to us. Okay, so this is the blue line is the number of deaths, and here you see COVID peak number 1, and here is COVID peak number 2 in early 2021. So this one was like March, April 2020, and I believe that the main causes of these, particularly the first one, was the sacrificing of old people through denial of urgent medical care, overuse of midazolam, blanket DNR orders, that kind of thing, and of course death by ventilator. That's my personal view, because I don't see any other reason for it. Why would it suddenly disappear and go back to normal and then appear again a year later? Anyway, and the pink line here that you can see is that's actually the same pattern repeated. So this is the previous 5 years. So so it starts in 2020. This is 2015 to 2019. This is the same week by week, and you can see the little blips at Christmas and these bank holidays here. This is the previous 5-year average, and it always goes in this kind of swooping thing where it's higher at the ends of the year and lowest in the summertime. Makes perfect sense. So that pattern is repeated every year here because you can't use a rolling 5-year average because of these extra deaths, right? It would all skew it. So we're using the same value, 2015 to 2019, to compare each year. Now, what I find is interesting is, we've got these two big blue things, but the weird thing is that since July 2021, we've had excess deaths. This is what's reported for England and Wales, significantly above the previous 5-year average. Now, the population hasn't grown, it's not to do with that. And then it fell back in line for a few months until about June 2022. And then since June 2022, it has been noticeably and predictably and regularly in excess of the previous 5-year death rate, which I found was odd. So I've collected all these numbers, and here we go all the way up to here, and this is what I find interesting. So if you take it from April 22, so April 22 is here, right, where it jumps over, right, this point here, okay, rather than, well, you could also do it from July 21 as well, because it's kind of similar, but anyway. So I'll go back to the end here. Right, so April 22 up to 12th of May, okay. The previous 5-year average for those same weeks, same number of weeks, was 561,104, April 22 to May 23, 619,000. That is 10.39% higher. Just get your head around this. 10% more people have died, right, in the last year than normal. And it's not from COVID. Now, compare that to the period up to the previous week, right? So from the beginning of 2020 up to the week ending 22nd of April 22, it was 10.12% higher than the average. Okay? So let this sink in, right? The first half of the graph with these big spikes on, 10.1% higher than normal than the previous 5 years, right? This period we're in now is higher than that. So what did we say? 10.3. Yeah, 10.39. So it's a difference between 10.1 higher, and that necessitated wall-to-wall news coverage, right? Weekly press conferences from Number 10, lockdowns, social distancing measures, the end of the world happened, right? That's what we all thought. But guess what? In the last year, deaths have been higher than that. Let that sink in. Higher than that. Now, I don't think the big question is why or what could be causing these deaths. Let me show you this. This is the number of vaccinations in England, okay? And it started really around March, April. It started at the very beginning of the year. The first one went out in December 2020, right? But April, May 21, and has kind of flattened out here. At some point, people kind of lost interest, okay? So from about April 21, okay? And what happened? June 21, deaths started to jumped up. And this is remarkable. This is really odd that these deaths and then stayed above there and for some reason disappeared. And then here again, but predictably, consistently, 10% or so higher than previous years. But again, that is not, I don't think that's particularly puzzling, not to me anyway. I think there's a kind of an obvious connection there. I think the real question is, and the really disturbing question is, why the hell is this not on the news? Excess mortality in England and Wales, we know right now, is higher than it was throughout the alleged COVID pandemic. And no one's talking about it. And that is kind of scary, right? And the implications of that, what it means is that there is no journalism going on right now. What it means is that the entire mainstream media news sector has been blanket banned from talking about this excess mortality. And what that means for us is that if we want to know what's going on, we can't trust the mainstream news. I mean, how can we? How can we? Nobody. This is the government. This is the Office of National Statistics own data. And they're saying, this is what it's telling us. 10% more people are dying now than they were in the alleged pandemic. But no one is talking about it. No one is writing about it. No one is asking the obvious questions. Bottom line is, what I make of this is you cannot trust the mainstream news sources for anything, really. And that's it. Thanks for watching. See you later.